In the dim afterglow of the garden, where lanterns still flickered like watchful eyes, Bill's chest constricted. He had expected nothing more than drunken laughter fading into the night, but instead he stumbled upon a revelation sharp enough to cut through bone. Hayley's arms were wrapped tight around a stranger, not in courtesy, but in desperation, trembling with the ache of years denied. The man's frame was weathered, his presence commanding yet fragile, as though time itself had fought to erase him. Bill's instincts screamed at him to look away, to convince himself this was meaningless. Yet when the envelope changed hands, thick with photographs and a folded certificate, curiosity overpowered restraint. He edged closer, breath shallow, until the man lifted his face into a wash of moonlight. The features were unmistakable, the same stern jawline carved into family portraits, the same piercing gaze that had once dominated Dupree gatherings. This was the man long buried in myth, the patriarch erased from memory. Hayley had delivered him back into the world, not as ghost, but as truth. And in that instant, Bill felt the ground split beneath him. The garden swallowed the moment, its silence deeper than church halls. Bill's rage boiled, but rage alone was too clean. What coursed through him was something more complex: betrayal, dread, the vertigo of realizing he had been living inside someone else's illusion. He didn't confront them. Not yet. Instead, he followed, invisible, as Hayley and the man drifted through the shadows toward the far side of the estate where cars idled for departing guests. The hand she placed on his arm carried tenderness Bill had never known from her. He watched until they disappeared beyond the gates, leaving him alone with the metallic taste of revelation. The following days spiraled into unease. Bill wore his mask of civility, but inside he catalogued every movement of Hayley. She became cautious, evasive, clutching her phone with an intensity that betrayed the gravity of her secret. Bill began to dig, late-night searches through drawers, hushed calls to contacts in the city archives, bribes slipped into the hands of estate staff. What surfaced horrified him further. Records once sealed revealed financial transfers, coded letters, and the faint outline of a man presumed dead but clearly operating in the shadows. The patriarch had not vanished, he had been concealed, shielded by those who claimed to honor his memory. The realization burned: the Dupree empire was founded not on triumph, but on a cover-up. Meanwhile, tension crackled within the mansion. Kat, radiant yet restless, sensed the undercurrents even before whispers reached her. She thrived in the theater of appearances, but the shift in Hayley's demeanor unsettled her. When Hayley declined an invitation to the family's philanthropic gala, an event no Dupree heir would dare miss, Kat's suspicions sharpened. Nicole, ever the keen observer, found herself tangled in the web as well. She intercepted a letter misdelivered to her suite, its handwriting jagged and impatient. Inside was a demand for silence, coupled with an allusion to debts unpaid. She traced the stationery, realizing it matched the kind used in the garden offices, a place Hayley had frequented. The pieces began to assemble, not into clarity, but into a puzzle whose image threatened to collapse the family's facade. Bill's torment grew unbearable. He imagined Hayley's betrayal replaying endlessly, her whispered exchanges with the man who should not exist. He withdrew from gatherings, prowled the estate at night like a ghost. When finally he confronted Hayley in silence, no words, only the burning accusation in his eyes, she crumbled for the briefest second before regaining composure. The defiance she exuded left Bill paralyzed. She would not yield explanation. This defiance pushed him further into obsession. He began plotting exposure. The Duprees had built their dynasty on the illusion of unity and perfection. To reveal a hidden patriarch would be to set fire to their legacy. Yet Bill wavered between vengeance and dread. If the man was alive, what else had been fabricated? Which loyalties had been bought, which histories rewritten? The unraveling accelerated during a weekend retreat at the Dupree Lakeside estate. The family gathered under pretense of celebration, but beneath the surface lingered rivalries and fractures. Anita discovered her accounts suddenly inaccessible, funds frozen by a mysterious legal motion. She suspected Leslie, but Leslie, cornered, hinted at a larger force manipulating them all. Chelsea, drunk on both champagne and resentment, let slip a story she was never meant to tell. Years ago, she had overheard whispers of a return, of preparations for someone important whose absence was to remain unspoken. Her revelation ignited panic in the room. Faces stiffened, eyes darted. Only Hayley kept her composure, though her hand trembled against her glass. And then, as thunder rolled across the lake, the man himself appeared. He did not enter with fanfare. He simply walked into the hall as though he had never left, his presence cutting through the air like a blade. For a heartbeat, the family froze in collective disbelief. Then chaos erupted. Kat fled the room, eyes wet. Nicole collapsed into a chair, gasping for air. Chelsea shouted incoherently, demanding answers. Anita cursed, clutching at her phone for leverage. Only Hayley moved toward him, steady, unyielding, her body angled as a shield. The patriarch raised no hand, spoke no word, yet his silence commanded. In the days that followed, the Dupree Empire descended into civil war. Allegiances fractured, secrets surfaced, and the once iron bond of blood dissolved into suspicion. Old scandals were unearthed. Fraudulent contracts, coerced marriages, inheritances rewritten. The revelation of the living patriarch was no longer the sole scandal, it was the spark that ignited decades of suppressed corruption. Bill, suffocating under the weight of his discovery, found himself isolated. Hayley no longer acknowledged him, retreating instead into the orbit of her resurrected father. The betrayal hardened into obsession. He began plotting not merely to expose, but to annihilate, to drag every skeleton into the light, even if it destroyed them all. The climax arrived at a gala meant to salvage the family's reputation. Under chandeliers and whispered prayers, the Duprees attempted to present a united front. Yet the fractures could not be concealed. Paparazzi captured glances sharp as daggers, gestures trembling with suppressed fury. And then, in a stroke of cruel irony, the photographs Bill had uncovered were projected across a vast screen. Images of the patriarch in exile, coded documents, signatures forged. The source of the leak remained hidden, but the effect was devastating. Gasps filled the hall, investors retreated, allies abandoned ship. The Dupree dynasty collapsed in real time, their empire unraveling not through external assault but internal rot. Bill stood at the edge of the chaos, unseen yet omnipotent, watching the destruction he had both feared and orchestrated. The faces of the family contorted into grief, rage, denial. Hayley locked eyes with him across the hall, her gaze searing, unbroken. In that look, Bill felt no victory. Only the hollow ache of knowing he had become what he despised, a man defined not by loyalty, but by betrayal. And as the chandeliers flickered above the ruins of an empire, the garden night returned to haunt him, the moment he first witnessed the impossible embrace, and the secret that shattered them all.